Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum viewers. I'm your host Faiza with a prayer. May Allah keep you all safe, healthy, and blessed. And may Allah shower His blessing on this globally, everyone. May Allah fill this world with peace and justice, inshallah. Ameen. Today is Monday and 16th June, and today this is the special episode in Subh that we are about to discuss the situation between Iran versus Israel and the situation within the region, which is quite upsetting. And there is exchange of missiles and shelling between Iran and Israel from past 4 days, and there is huge loss which is over there in Iran and Israel. So, what is happening in this situation? What we really need to understand, and what world powers are doing at the moment. Is the situation going to escalate or de-escalate, or is going to be a all out war in the region very soon? So we do have a very prestigious guest with us, Sayyid Arif Rizvi. We'll move on to him and would take his viewpoint and an analysis on the past 4 days situation which is going on, why it happened, what happened, and where situation is going. So I'll welcome him on the show and would like to welcome him on the show, and we'll move on to him. Assalamu alaikum, Arif bhai, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really grateful for your time and would like to understand the current situation within West Asia, especially Iran and Israel, because this is some kind of aggression from Israel towards Iran, and they tried their best not to do that, but obviously many months that it could be they could attack Iran for whatsoever reason. And there is very important term they are using is regime change, just like they use it in Iraq and in other places as well. And when Western media use this terminology, it has certain meaning. So I would like you to share some explanation to that word as well, and briefly what is happening, why it is happening, and where the situation is going on.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, greetings on the auspicious occasion of Eid al-Kabir, which is one of the foundation and pillars of Islam, whereby the system of imamat gets established. And today, if you see what is going on in this conflict between Iran and Israel, is very much related to the issue of imamat and gadir and vilayat itself. Because if there would not have been the system of imamat and vilayat in Iran, things would not have been what it is today in the entire region. As you rightly mentioned, that on the outward side, if you see, the war looks like Israeli aggression was done because Israel says we don't want a nuclear Iran. But that's just a camouflage. They don't want a revolutionary Iran. That's what is the actual statement. A nuclear is there with many countries. It's not that nuclear is not there. Nuclear is not an issue. Yes, they don't want nuclear with any Islamic country because if it is there with Islamic country, then the spirit of revolution can arise in any Islamic country and it could be a threat of any hegemonic power who do oppression, who do tyranny on innocent people. Now, if we come back to this war which has started, this battle which has started between Iran and Israel, it's not something which we can say has come out of the blue. It was expected. It was expected much before, almost a year and a half before. And for various reasons, Iran could not, did not wanted to do this and wanted to avoid it to the extent possible. And even in the recent few months, we have seen that Iran, though the leader is not interested and does not like it, still the Iranian diplomats have sat on the negotiation table with US. All of a sudden, while the negotiation is going on, Israel starts this aggression. Is something which many people, many analysts could not figure out as to why it has happened and why Israel did this. It's not that Israel did this on its own while US was trying to negotiate the situation. Nothing Netanyahu will do without the green signal of Trump. It's impossible. It's not possible at all. So there was a clear green signal given by US that this has to be done right after the days of warning which was given by Trump, and it happened on 61 days, 61th day. This was done on US instructions over here very clearly. But US doesn't want to get themselves involved in it for several reasons, which we can also discuss later on. Why Trump is reluctant to get inside the war directly? What would be the repercussions of this, specifically now when this has gone to this stage? So, if you look at the situation in last 4 days, what has happened has been something unexpected by Israel and US, that Iran would retaliate in such a manner. They were expecting that, first of all, Iran would retaliate definitely because they have to show it to their people also that they are retaliating. But that retaliation would be more symbolic in nature, that Iran might go and attack few of the military locations and sites inside Israel, and then they will give a call that, okay, we have taken the revenge just like before. No, we will not do anything unless you do something again. But that was not the case. They kept on going, and almost eight rounds of attacks have taken place from Iran towards Israel, and they have not maintained any red line which was maintained before. Means the attacks are mostly they are done on the infrastructure only, which is power infrastructure, military infrastructure in Israel. But yes, there has been attack on civilian buildings, government buildings. All these things are happening, and there are very high civilian casualties in Israel itself. Though there are much more civilian casualties in Iran as compared to Israel, because Israel is also attacking on civilian locations over here. Hence, first point that it was something unexpected that Iran would retaliate, and they have seen that the retaliation has been very, very severe over here. Now, for the Iran side, if you take it, Iran was not expecting this. They were not expecting that this would happen. Why they were not expecting this? One reason was they were deceived by the internal people who were more US favored people present inside Iran, within the Iranian government. They have been given false hopes to the leadership that we will resolve this issue through negotiation and this will not escalate. While the Iranian regime was busy in this, the Iranian system was busy in negotiations as to what they should do, all of a sudden this happened and this took them as a shock. And much more shock was this, that the way this incident folded, whereby for 8 hours, Iranian anti-defense system did not work. It was completely jammed. It was more or less destroyed and jammed in certain places, and they could not react. And during this period, when the first wave of attacks started, it was internal attack, which was done from inside Iran towards the defense system. That's where an emergency meeting was called, whereby top level officials were sitting in a bunker, and this bunker location was known to Israel. They had so much infiltrated that they even knew that where this meeting would take place, and they were informed that this meeting is started in this place, and there were around 28 officials of IRGC who were present in this meeting, including the chief of intelligence present inside the meeting, and they targeted specifically this bunker, which was not a deep bunker, and all these were martyred over there. Now, this came as a very big shock. Then the nuclear scientists were hit directly inside their homes. Some on the ninth floor, some on the second floor, some on the fifth floor. Now, this is really a humiliation for a country whereby someone from outside 2000 kilometers reaches right inside the home of your top level persons and kills them. This is really an insult and humiliation for a country for such kind of things to happen. Hence, retaliation was expected to be very severe. Otherwise, it would have been total submission by Iran, nothing else. They will have to give up on nuclear completely. Whatever Trump is asking, they would have to accept it if they do not show a stop retaliation. And now this is going on. Israel is attacking, they are attacking. And the attacks are such that if you take internal news from Iran, that there are people who are connected to us, also friends over there, others there, uh, nothing can be predicted. Which building can be hit at any time? Which square can be hit any time? No one can predict. No one is safe over there. No one can say that this place is safe, that place is safe. Nothing is safe. Even Mashhad, there has been two attacks today in the morning in Mashhad itself. Though it's far off, near Pakistan border it is, but even that is also coming under attack. So this war, though it is a war between Israel and the Iranian regime and the IRGC, but on both sides, it's a civilian war. The civilians are suffering and they will have to suffer for a certain period of time over here till this comes to an end over here. So, this is the current situation which I have mentioned over here very briefly. And how this is going to end is again a big question mark. Whether it is going to end very soon or it is not going to end soon, there are certain analytical points on this which we can discuss on what predictions are there and what things are happening behind the curtain to close this war, to end this war. But how it will happen, whether it will be successful, that's again something we need to analyze. Is there any questions we can take up or I can talk about?
Agar, you mentioned infiltration from inside is very important, and we have seen during the weekend there was some kind of news regarding Sayyid Ali Khamenei's life, threat to his life as well, and where they said like in there was some statements in Wall Street Journal in which Trump said he vetoed, for example, that the killing or assassination of Sayyid Ali Khamenei. So how do you see that? How much threat does he have? Because they are after the whole system, which is based on, for example, Islamic ideology, and they say all over again every time whenever they speak that we are going to change, for example, Ayatollah's regime. So what does it states when they say this, and how do you see the threat towards Sayyid Ali Khamenei's life? Because when there is so much infiltration inside, so how they are going to what are going to happen in that regard?
Okay. Now, the question that whether they can do this or whether they will do this. They can do this is very clear. They can do this. No one is safe. No one is safe. When Sayyid Hassan Nasrullah could not be safe in the peak of war going on, they could not protect him. Here also, Sayyid Ali Khamenei, the leadership is not safe. If Israel wants to do, they can do. Because there is so much of infiltration. You know, when these commanders were attacked in the bunker, who has given the information? Who has given all this infiltration was inside Sipa, it was inside IRGC, it was not outside. The infiltration has taken place right inside your core army. That is the problem over here. It's not that it is somewhere outside where you can say, okay, people are doing espionage. No, it's inside. Even now, the crackdowns which they are not doing at that level. They're doing in the people. They're trying to find spies amongst the people who are giving information. So here, whether they can do it, yes, they can do it. But why they are not doing it or why they will not do it? See, Sayyid Ali Khamenei is a political leader of the state. When there is a war, when you target army officials, military officials, that's a part of the war. But when you target the political leadership, it becomes a different story altogether, which is a big violation of international laws. International laws, war laws, do not allow you to assassinate any political leader like this. It's not permissible. Though they have done it with Ayatollah Raisi, but they did not declare that we have done it. Neither did Iran confess that it was done by some, but that was done. Apart from that, if you see that all the leaderships which were targeted were military leadership. Yes, Ismail Hania, but Ismail Hania was not a political leader. He was a leader of an organization of Hamas, not a political leader. So we can say the leader of a state. No, he was not the leader of the state. So here, one reason is that you cannot target political leadership. It can bring a lot of international condemnation, which means no political leader anywhere in the world is safe. Anyone can be taken down, anyone can be attacked. And that was the reason that Bashar al-Assad was also not killed when, say, Nasrallah was shot. They could have done this very easily by assassinating Bashar al-Assad, but they took a different route and warned him that we will do this. Either you submit, run away, we're giving you free path to run away, but we will not kill you. So this is the same situation over here where they will not target so easily the political leadership, but Netanyahu is crazy. He can do anything. He doesn't care about international laws. Here, US is not. US doesn't want him to take this step. Second reason is that the Iranian revolutionary system is not about one person. It's a system of vilayat faqih. It's a system of vilayat where there is shura Nigahban, where there is majlis, there is a council over there. So they can immediately bring a replacement, even if you target a political leadership at this level. And they can bring a replacement who would be on the same lines of Ayatollah Khamenei, not that he will be different. If Israel can see that by eliminating Ayatollah Khamenei, there is an alternative over there who can come and be soft towards Israel, then they might do it. But that's not the situation over here. Third thing is that the repercussions could be very, very high. What will happen in these cases if they try to kill or target Ayatollah Khamenei? IRGC will go head on. They will just go straight into and do whatever possible and make the attacks much, much more severe, I mean 10 times severe than what is happening now towards Israel, which Israel is afraid of, that they would not like to go to this particular stage over here. No, so at this point, what are both the parties expecting? This is a very important point. What is Iran expecting and what is Israel expecting? They are both expecting the same. Israel is expecting that by targeting civilians straight away, they will create a rebellion inside Iran, which was already boiling before with the liberals and others. And this rebellion will topple the regime. The regime will be toppled, not a personality. If you kill the personality, then this rebellion gets suppressed. Then the people Iranians are very nationalist. Even if you look at Iran's demographics, you can say there are 30% revolutionary people, hardcore revolutionary, fully supportive, anti-Israel, all this. There are, but the rest 70% are not that they are not religious and very, very atheist kind of people. No. There are only 20% such a category which are anti-Islam. You can say they are not even Muslims over there. The rest others, 50-60%, are religious minded people, though they do not want to get into conflicts, they do not want to get outside Iran, they do not like Iran to indulge into others' affairs, they just want a peaceful, luxurious, comfortable religious life. Okay. So in this situation, this 80% when you kill Ayatollah Khamenei will all become completely united. And this rebellion will not take place if this happens. Hence, they are not going to do this mistake. As I said, what is Israel expecting is this, a rebellion. What is Iran expecting? Iran is expecting the same. Iran is continuously sending messages to Israeli people that nothing would be left safe for you to live. You will have to leave Israel. You will have to leave Israel. They are also building the same pressure on Israel that the people should come out in rebellion and force Netanyahu to stop this war. So both the parties are looking at the same end. They are expecting, Israel is expecting a regime change through people by continuously bombarding. Iran is expecting the same, that the people would stand against Netanyahu and something will happen. So in both these expectations, the probability and the possibility of Iran becoming successful is much higher. And probability of Israelis coming out on the street and not sustaining this war is much higher over there. Why? What's the reason? The reason is ideology. The Iranians have an ideology of Karbala, they have ideology of Islam over there, which will give them patience, which is giving them istiqamat. And they have this experience of 45, 50 years now, where they are standing against sanctions, against pressure and everything. So they are somewhat psychologically trained over here. Though they have not seen a war like this, even in the 8 years of war in Iran and Iraq, it was on the borders. It was not in the towns. Only certain areas in the border, like Khorramshahr and these kind of places, were attacked. But not like Tehran was brutally attacked the way it is happening now. The Iraqi embassy is attacked. So many places, if you list down, are hit by Israel over here in this. They have not said this, but still psychologically they are very strong. Psychologically they will be able to sustain this pressure. You can see everything is going normal over there. When we try to contact them, people are on job, people are working, children are going to schools, everything is working normal over there, even though the attacks are happening. But in Israel, they're all under in shelters. They are not ready to sustain, come out. They are a fearful nation. The people do not have an ideology over there which would motivate them to sustain this war. They will not. And this is what Iran is trying to do. That if we prolong this, that stage will come where the Israeli nation, where the Jewish people will not be able to sustain this, and they will come out and topple the regime over there of Netanyahu. This is the battle which is actually going on right now. On the other hand, Israel is also playing one game over here, which is what they are telling that 2 weeks we will continue to bombing. Why 2 weeks? This is because they have the information that how much missile batteries Iran is having, how much missile power Iran is having. That is expected in the range of 5,000 to 10,000 missiles they have. Best case 10,000, and generally it is around 5,000. With the attacks which they are doing right now, 200, 300 missiles per day, they might be able to carry this load for 2 weeks now. In 2 weeks, Netanyahu is expecting Iran will get exhausted with their missiles unless someone else supplies them. And today's news is that China is supplying in a covert manner the missiles to Iran. So, okay, when those missiles will be used, Israel will straight away declare that these were Chinese missiles which were used in this war. So, if the logistic supply of Iran is there from the back by Russia or China, then definitely Israel is defeated. Now, Israel is playing this gamble over here that Iran's artillery will get exhausted. Once it gets exhausted, they will not be able to sustain this war, and then it would become one sided attack like Gaza. They will keep on hitting, and people will come out, and the rebellion will start over here. This is what they are thinking, and they are planning over here. That is their war strategy, which is right now over there from Israel. Whereas Iran is trying to take the backup support coming. Even news Pakistan is there in one of the list of countries who might end up to supply, but I doubt if Pakistan will do that. Though Iranian news channels have mentioned that there has been discussion that Pakistan is willing to give them 600, 700 missiles, something like that, which Pakistan has denied that this is not true. So these news clearly tells us that Iran knows that they will run short of the ballistic missiles very soon, and they need support from the back. And Israel also knows this, and that's what the gamble which they are playing. That okay, let us try to curtail our people in Israel for 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, this game should be over, and we would be in a winning position, or we will have an upper hand over there. But inshallah, that will not happen. Allah knows it best.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
So it looks like that a rebellion from inside Israel would there are more chances of that, and their regime might change soon, inshallah, because they are not used to have this kind of situation they are in at the moment, because they have to go into safe places, and now they can see what they have been doing to the people of Gaza. So this is quite a painful situation in that sense for them, and they never experienced that before. So besides that, what do you think that Ayatollah Khamenei's next strategy for this situation would be? And most importantly, the thing you mentioned about the infiltration, we have been watching this infiltration from past, like especially 2 years, even though it has been happening many years before, but still, if we just analyze in 2 years. So why do you think Iran couldn't work on this thing, that the top leadership is associated with some of the top leadership, which they have, I think so they caught some of the officials which were related to Mossad or whatsoever. So why they couldn't work on this kind of thing, that they could
Yeah.
stop this kind of infiltration. So what is the problem in that context?
Now this is a very good question, that why Iran is not able to control this infiltration, which has gone to such a high level. Now, there is a long history behind this as to why it has happened. One of the root cause of all the problems in Iran is the democratic system. The democratic system has on and off opened the doors for the anti-revolutionary lobby to come into power. And this started just after the revolution itself. The first phase after the revolution, you can see, of Bani Sadr, they were all treacherous. They were not in favor of revolution. They came into power as disguised, and then it was known. And the losses, this was also infiltration. Bani Sadr was supporting Saddam over there at that time. He was not supplying weapons to the Iranian forces. He was not supporting the Iranian forces. Then after that, Ayatollah Khamenei came into the presidency. Then things were under control. But after Imam Khomeini's passed away, then Ayatollah Khamenei became the leader, and the political situation, the political side of the Iranian administration went into hands of people like Hashmi Rafsanjani, Khatami, and then if you see Rouhani, and then Pezeshkian. So you take 8 years of Khatami, 8 years of Rouhani, and then 8 years of Hashmi Rafsanjani. So if you look at 24 years, you had an anti-Islamic revolutionary government in place over there, and that's a long enough period for infiltration to take place. So let me go back to Hashmi Rafsanjani. Hashmi Rafsanjani was not like Jawad Zarif or Khatmi, who was very liberal. Hashmi Rafsanjani had one vision, and that vision gave a very severe blow to Iran due to with this infiltration also picked up and they couldn't do anything. Was that we should only be concerned about Iran and not outside. We should not indulge into anything else. Whereas Imam Khomeini's vision was export of revolution. The revolution should be exported, and specifically Palestine and Kashmir. The issue of Palestine and Kashmir, Imam wanted to resolve that. But Hashmi Rafsanjani was no, we should go towards materialistic success, materialistic development. And Iran went on a big wave of development after the Islamic Revolution. And you can see the infrastructure which they have created, the lifestyle which they have. They have a very good lifestyle over there. Though they expect much more, they expect the branded things to come to them, but they have everything what is required to live a comfortable, luxurious, easy life over there. Everything is there with them. So when you orient a nation towards materialistic growth, definitely with that speed, you will start to compromise on your revolutionary values. When you start to compromise on your revolutionary values, you will give opportunities to people to come inside and do infiltration. Like simple example, I'll give you the things which they were importing, the sensitive things which the IRGC was importing. Who was importing this for them? There were companies which belong to IRGC commanders' relatives, which belong to people in the political system, their relatives in their own name, and they set up entities in Dubai, in Turkey, in Hong Kong, in China, and wherever. And they were buying and bringing and sending these, and these were expensive equipments, chips, components, missiles, make any everything. This was coming through this channel, and these people, when they saw, and they used to sell it at 200%, 300% margin, double, triple the price. They were making money. They were making palaces in UAE, in Europe, and everywhere. They tasted this blood over there. Now, what happens? This is where the infiltration starts. Now, Israel, US knows that these are the entities who are sitting in between, and these people are materialistic people. They got all the data through them as to where they are supplying, who are the entities in Iran, who are the personalities over there, and slowly they started to get this network inside Iran through the Iranians itself, who are providing them explicit signals, whereas it's implicit signals from inside. They were doing a lot of damage from inside Iran. So this orientation which Iranians got towards materialistic growth, which was also an outcome of the democratic system present in Iran, paved the way for infiltration. which gradually went up. And there is one weakness of Iranian nation, Iranian people mentality, Ravish, is that they do not take abrupt actions. Iranians have this strategy to delay things as much as possible. And when it reaches the peak stage of crisis, that's where they come into action. You can see in many situations, the hijab situation, the other issues, they just delay, and then when it boils up, then they are helpless on how to control the situation. They like it in the same Gaza war. What is happening today? This could have happened 1.5 years before. If this would have happened at that time when Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah was present, when Hezbollah was on its peak and giving big blows to Israel, things would have been very different. But Iranians delayed, and wanted to do it diplomatically. Let's say diplomatically, if we can resolve the issue. But they did not realize that Israel doesn't like the existence of a revolutionary Iran. They will never accept it. Whatever diplomacy you do, whatever you try to do, they will never accept it because they consider you as an ideological enemy of theirs. You're not a materialistic enemy, you're not an economic enemy. China and US are economic enemies, they are not ideological enemies. But here ideological enmity which is there on both the sides. So this is where a mistake was done by Iranians, that they could not do a crackdown over here. They should have done a crackdown on these elements who were present inside. Even now, they are not doing it to that extent. Today, there's a news that they've arrested a lot of Spanish people over there, and they're going to do a fast trial on them, not hold them, which means they are going to give death penalties to many of them, which would be a good sign and a fear which will they will create amongst their own people, that this thing would not be taken lightly anymore. But this is what has happened. This delaying and ignorance and materialistic orientation and the democratic system whereby you're bringing people in power who are totally inclined towards the West, you cannot expect. There were people with Aimma alayhi salam, with Imam Hassan alayhi salam. They were doing espionage. They went to the other camp of Mawiya and got sold out. So what can we expect from these people over here? If you open the doors like this is going to happen. So this was expected to happen. It happened, and they could not control it, due to which they have suffered such big losses now today over here. And you see
Uh,
the infiltration. They blindly
yeah.
trusted Trump. Trump
Mhm.
who has done the breach of the previous JCPOA. They trusted Trump. They relied on him that yes, we will be successful. This was foolishness. And this deception was done through this infiltrated element. Jawaz Zarif is the leader of these infiltrators over there. And still he is safe sitting quietly. There's no action on him yet over there in Iran.
True. Aga, things you stated regarding democratic Iran part along with revolutionary Iran. So why do you think Sayyid Ali Khamenei, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, has not taken any steps to change that system? Obviously, when we can see like there is kind of 24 years tenure of that democratic policies and government and whatsoever you call it. So why do you think he didn't try to change that system into some kind of revolutionary system so that it could work more effectively? Secondly, you mentioned some materialistic values which were being used by obviously these leaders you mentioned recently, like Khatmi and all that. So what are the revolutionary values which are problem for Israel, for instance? And there is also obviously people, normal people or the world leader, think that every chaos in the region, especially in West Asia, is because of Iran or whatsoever. So how do you see that aspect so that people who are still in confusion or in doubt in any way, they would understand what is exactly, for example, Iran doesn't participate in anything the way it was going on before Shah and all that. So what, how would be the situation of West Asia at the moment if there was no revolution and things are going well as they were going before revolution, for example? So what was the difference at in these two timings?
Okay, the first question was about why the leadership of Iran did not uh, finish the system of democracy over there. No, it's not that easy to do, because when you started, when the Islamic revolution came in Iran, Imam Khomeini did not go for democracy. He went for referendum. He just asked people one question: do you want an Islamic government or not? That's the answer. That was the referendum which was done. And 97% people voted that we need an Islamic government. Okay. Now, how the Islamic government has to be formed? Because Iran, though it was under Shah, there was a parliamentary system going on in Iran even during the tenure of Shah. People were coming out, they were casting vote, and democracy was prevailing in the world. So all of a sudden, you bring a big change in the system. The people will say, okay, what's the difference? Shah has gone and Khomeini is sitting in his place and he is doing everything. There is no people's role inside the state. So they made an interim decision over here to let's take a democratic approach, but keep it in the framework of Islamic values, so that the democratic system is just a namesake base and you have a complete framework around it, which is the Vilayat Faqih, which is the leadership that is going to control this democratic system over here. Then the 8 years war started, whereby things changed. This migration, this movement from this interim democratic system, which they termed it as Jamhur-e Islami, that means within Islamic peripheries, within Islamic framework, you have democracy. They could not change it because they were busy in the 8 years war. After the war, they were again busy in developing the nation, materialistic growth, give something good to the people. This is where it lost track. And by the time you started to realize, when they realized, they came out with another strategy. What was that strategy? That was establishment strategy. Like, let the regime, which is the Islamic revolutionary regime, act as an establishment and bring into the democratic system only revolutionary people, so that things remain under control. And they were successful. They were successful with President Ahmadinejad. When Ahmadinejad came, for his first 4 years, he was completely submissive to Ayatollah Khamenei. And Reber himself says that this is the first time the Vilayat Faqih has become so powerful in Iran, which was due to Ahmadinejad. He revived the power and authority of Ayatollah Khamenei, which before, specifically in the tenure of Hashmi Rafsanjani, was totally suppressed. Hashmi Rafsanjani was a tycoon in Iran. He was not a small person. The economy was under his control. He was a rich guy, wealthy guy. The business lobby, everything was under his control. He was driving everything over there. Now, again with Ahmadinejad, what happens? In the next 10 years, he becomes so powerful that he goes above the leadership. And this is the filth of the democratic system. When you bring someone in power, in parallel to a power, supreme power which is present, he will try to come at some stage and start to confront, because now the question is that, oh, 70% of people have voted for me, and this leader, he comes with 84 votes of Mustahideens. Whereas these 70% people are directly voting for me, which means people like me. I am their representative. So this ego, this prejudice, this starts to come inside human being, and then they start to confront. After Ahmadinejad, again, they wanted to close this issue of nuclear and sanctions, basically sanctions. They themselves got Rouhani to resolve this issue. And Rouhani used to come with a key that I have the key. I am going to resolve this issue. And he did that. He made the JCPOA deal, but Trump came and broke the deal, because Trump knew that this JCPOA deal was still giving Iran the opportunity to develop and strengthen their military power, which he did not wanted them to do. And he has broken the deal, breached, completely finished. After that, they realized that no, this is not going to happen like this, where we bring such people in power. They got Ibrahim Raisi, that a revolutionary person who might start to fix things and revive the values which have got lost in the past 8 years and before. Here, Ibrahim Raisi was martyred, things changed. Now they realize that in this battle of Gaza, again we need someone who can play diplomacy. That's where they again got Pezeshkian into. Pezeshkian came into power through IRGC. It was the establishment who got him in power. And he clearly confessed that in the parliament, with a letter that I have been given these mandates and this has been approved by the Wali Faqih and I have come into power through his recognition. Whereas Pezeshkian in the previous election was disqualified even as a candidate. So he comes into power. Why? Because this is a strategy which IRGC has been using, a failed strategy that wanted to use the shoulders of the reformist Islah Talab to resolve to do negotiations at a diplomatic level, so that any filth that happens will come on them, not on the IRGC, not on the Islamic revolutionary system over there. And this strategy failed very badly over there. And so the answer is why they couldn't do it. This is the reason. This is the history behind it. That they couldn't change the system, and now it's too late to do it. They can't do it. Now they are trying to fix with the same strategy, tighten the grip on the political system, take your upper hand, take all the decisions through Wali Faqih, through IRGC, and let the political system be a dummy system over there. We should not be able to do anything. Let it be in a paralyzed state. Then the next election, let Jalili. Jalili was the person who was supposed to come in power after Ibrahim Raisi. And it was very clear they got Kalibaf to split the votes and they got Pezeshkian over there. And now, even after Jalili has been speaking a lot in terms of revolutionary style, but he has been suppressed. His words are not allowed to come out. So all these things which has happened in their system has been a mismanagement of the political side, has resulted into this thing. What was the next question? I forgot about. Sorry.
Uh, the next question was related to, I think so, I forgot as well, just in case I will ask you again afterwards.
Okay.
Sister Sakina Date is with us as well, so I would like to welcome her on the show. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Sister Sakina. Really grateful for your time. Aga Sayyid Arif Rizvi has been sharing some analytical viewpoint on the situation within Israel and Iran. And what is your take on this whole situation? How do you see this situation? Is it going to escalate or is going to stop somewhere? What is your analysis of the situation at the moment, if for the past 4 days war which is going on between Iran and Israel? Sister, I can't hear you. If you can turn your volume on. It's still not coming. Your volume is still not up. So if you can check what is the situation of the. No, if you can try to reconnect, it would be better because I can't hear. Just 1 second. Let me. So Sister Sakina has some problem. So Aga, what are your thoughts on the? Are there going to be any diplomatic ways to de-escalate situation, or is still going to stay the way it is?
Yes. Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister of Iran, has given a statement yesterday that if Israel stops attacking, we will stop. So they are also looking at a diplomatic situation, diplomatic closure of this. But unfortunately, there are nations who are making statements that we are ready to come in between and do negotiations. Turkey is telling this, Egypt is telling this, but there are no practical steps which is being taken over here. Nothing strong, no resolve is seen over here practically that anyone wants to interfere at this stage to practically come out and present a solution by which it can stop. Trump is telling, come back on the negotiation table, stop this and come on the negotiation table. Whereas that is not the solution. That would be suicide for Iran if they again go back on the negotiation table and start to negotiate for nuclear enrichment. Whereas on the other side, they are bombarding the nuclear sites of theirs. So that is something not, but we don't know. Iranians can end up doing this also because, as I said, the internal lobby of infiltrators is very strong. They would be pressurizing the system to come on the negotiation table again and resolve this. If the losses and the casualties increase, then there is a possibility that they might come, which I don't think the leader is willing to do it. No, he is not willing to do this, but we don't know. Several times before, under pressure, he has given them the opportunity to go and try it out and see what happens, the consequences, which are right in front of us right now. So diplomatic efforts are there from Iran's side, but from Israel's side, there are no diplomatic efforts. They are not asking anyone to come in between to resolve this. Their game plan is different, as I said before. They want to go on and on and on and exhaust Iran over here so that there is a regime change rebellion starts inside.
Thank you. Sister Sakina, can you speak up so we can check the volume?
Salamun alaikum. Can you hear me, sister?
Yes,
Walaikum
thank you
assalam.
so much for joining us this morning. If you would have been able to hear the question earlier, I would like your analysis on the 4 days war. If you can briefly share what is your take on the situation.
Thank you very much, Sister Faiza. It's been really interesting to listen to Said Arif and his analysis. So, I think, the attack on Iran was something that we've been talking about for quite a while, and we expected this. And we said, all along that this was going to happen. The negotiations that were happening were just a false flag. This was just a distraction, really. And there was every intention, to attack Iran. And this really goes back, in my view, to the foreign policy of the US. If you hear Jeffrey Sachs, he talks about how there's a 30-year plan was there to take out 5 countries, 4 of which had already been taken out. And post October 7th, everything's been leading to attacking Iran. So this was going to happen at some point. Now, in terms of, were Iranians correct in pursuing the ceasefire and, the discussions, or rather than, negotiations? Uh, I think there was room for that. All along, we knew that, they were not genuine. Whatever Iran was putting forward, America was changing the signpost all the time. And this is because they never really intended to have any kind of a deal. The deal was made during the Trump's first administration, and it was ripped out by him. So this was quite a clear indication. And I think, Said Khamenei has been saying this all along, that you can't trust them. But on the other hand, my view also is this has put Iran, if you talk about the PR on the global face, this has put Iran in a positive light. So whereas, the politicians and people who are in the know-how always understood these issues, because of the strong, media here in the Western countries that has always held propaganda and demonizing of Iranians, they did not believe that Iran was actually a peaceful country, that they had any good intentions, that, they would never attack another country. What this has done, this round of them trying to enter into these talks, has changed, really, I think, perspective of a lot of people. A positive response towards Iran. And I was just, before I came on, I've been listening to LBC and to James O'Brien, and the kind of discussions that are happening in the mainstream media now was something we could never have expected before. So the fact that they did enter into negotiations, and at least on the face of it looked like they were ready to do anything but to go to war, in my view, has proved to be quite a successful strategy. Now, whether, that was what they really believed was going to happen, that is where I have a problem. So if you could be doing negotiations but know that this is not going to lead to anything, and therefore preparations, should have been on, and I think they were. I don't believe that Iranians were not prepared. Now, the issue of infiltration inside Iran, this is a very serious problem, and I think this is something that that everybody is aware of, and we knew that this was there, and it would have the negative effect, and it has had the negative effect. But the good side, in my view, is that this has given now the opportunity to the people who are aligned to Said Khamenei to have a stronger hold. I mean, they are now proven to be correct, and therefore I think this is going to help going forward. And also, being able to identify all these Mossad agents, there's a big crackdown happening over there, and 80% of the internal, whatever attacks happened in Iran, 80% of them were actually from internally, from inside. So Israel has not really attacked so much directly, Iran. And all these systems we hear about, the defense systems, these are working for Iran. And whatever else we say, we have to give credit to the leadership that years of sanctions, 30 years of sanctions, and they have been able to come up with the might, the military might that we are now seeing. They are destroying the Zionists like they have never experienced before. No one ever has, touched Israel in the way they are being bombed right now. So I think it's a mixed bag. Yes, I do agree that. There has been a lot of infiltration. There have been the younger generation in Iran do not adhere to the principles of the Islamic Revolution or Imam Khomeini's, because they haven't been to war. They were a little bit sidelined and did not understand, what really the West is capable of doing. Trusting the West as Iranians is a complete no go. However, what this has done is this is going to change the internal uh, structure. It is going to also, like for example, we are seeing a lot of Iranians, even though they were against their governments, they are now coming together and saying, we'll put our divisions aside for now, because whatever change we want internally is something that we should be able to do that ourselves. So yes, there are deaths, and there are difficult times, and we all feel that. I mean, the massacres, the assassinations that have happened, we all feel the pain of that. But I think this was a necessary step, and in my view, Iran is going to come out a lot stronger from this than it was before.
Thank you, Sister Sakina. Aga, the question I was asking, and if you would like to add something, Sister Sakina has mentioned, especially regarding the discussion going on in the media, especially in the mainstream media, the kind of language and the kind of issues they are taking from the perspective of Iran and Israel. If you can share some point on that, and the point we were discussing earlier when I lost the question, and it was the if there was no revolution, for example, in Iran, like what happened in 79, so how would have been the situation now? So how would have been this world at the moment? Because this is also important to understand. Without Iranian revolution, for example, because they are after it, they are saying it and we know it. So how important it is to understand how this world would and the second thing, it looks like that Iranian revolution exposed this imperialism and this kind of warmongering, world leaders, and it exposed everything in many ways. So how do you see this aspect? If you could share some points on that.
Yeah. The question that how the world would be without Islamic revolution in 1979, the answer is very simple. The answer is it would be like Turkey, it would be like Saudi Arabia, it would be like Morocco, it would be like Algeria, it would be like all these Muslim countries which are there today, where there is Islamic ritualistic culture, but there are no Islamic values. And this has been proven in last almost near to 2 years now, with the atrocities going on in Palestine and Gaza. You see the reaction of the Muslim world, what they have done for these Palestinians. Whether at the level of government or at the level of masses, nothing. This culture of dead values would be prevalent over the region. It's just because of the Islamic revolution, which has presented a model to the world that capitalism, imperialism are not the only systems which the world need. You have an Islamic system which gives dignity and privilege to the people. Islam wants to see dignity, respect for the people, and not submission to tyrants and oppressors who are trying to exploit these people over here. Like I'll give a simple example: people living in the West. Like if you see majority of the people living in the West, in the UK, they are all hand to mouth. We are in the UK, we are hand to mouth. Majority of them. If they don't have job for 1 month, they will be going to council to asking them for benefits over there. This is exploitation. You work throughout your life for 30, 40 years and you can't even survive for 2 months in a country, which means you are exploited by the nation. All these things were to be countered by the Islamic revolution, whereby it is giving you a path of establishing an Islamic state which would implement Islamic justice, Islamic social justice in a society. And that should have become a model for other Muslim nations to replicate. And this was what Imam Khomeini termed as Sudur-e Inqilab, export of revolution. When this model starts to get exported, then all these tyrannical powers, the imperialists, the kings in the region, everywhere in the Muslim world, they would come under severe threat when people start to rise and stand against them and demand Islam as a lifestyle, Islamic culture to be prevalent in a society, foreign policies to be based on Islamic values, economic to be based on Islamic values, justice to be based on Islamic values, and this threat they couldn't tolerate. Hence, all these conflicts are just because of Islamic Revolution, 1979. As Samuel Huntington says in his book very clearly, that the future is about clash of civilizations. So out of the 8 civilizations present in the world, 7 will get self-destroyed. Only one civilization will exist which we have to destroy, and that is Islam of Imam Khomeini. That's very clear. Explicitly, he says in his book that this is the Islam of Imam Khomeini, which is a threat for us. But he again warns over there, do not go for a hard war with to destroy this. Take a soft war, a cultural aggression that will give you success. If you go on the hard war, their ideology is so strong that they will never get defeated. And this is what the world is seeing right now. And coming to the mainstream media, which you asked, the mainstream media has to confess, and they have done to a large extent, that Israel has done an aggression. When a negotiation was going on, they shouldn't have done this attack when it was going on and it was not closed. It is from their spectacles, it is from their glasses which they are looking at. Whether these negotiations were required or not itself is a question mark, which we discussed before. But it was a clear aggression, clear violation, breach by Israel, and even countries like Australia, New Zealand, and many others have condemned Israel for this act of brutality, which they have done over here. Those who are with Israel, like US and other European nations, also definitely they will support. Some are supporting explicitly, like US. Some are supporting in a subliminal manner. Many countries say we are standing with you. We will be with Israel. Like India is explicitly supporting Israel. They are praying for Israelis. They want everything to be destroyed because they have a threat from Muslims inside India. So everyone is looking at Islam as an axis. Around that, the mainstream media is moving over here. But there are good people on the media who are presenting the facts, who are presenting the truth. Also, though they are not Muslims, they are coming out with the facts, and the facts are very clear that Iran has not done aggression. They are responding to the aggression, and the response is the same. It's tit for tat. What you are doing, we are replying in the same way. So you cannot say that why you are attacking civilians. No, it's a war. In war, there is collateral damage. If you are concerned about the civilians, then you should not get into this war. Then you should not have started this aggression. You are the one who has started the aggression, and now you cannot say there are civil casualties happening. It will happen. It's a collateral damage, which is a part of any war which you take today, because today is not the traditional conventional war where you come on the borders and fight. It's all aerial warfare. And in aerial warfare, you cannot say that there will be zero civilian casualty. It will happen, and that's what is happening now.
Thank you, Aga. We do have a very respectable guest with us as well, Sister Dr. Annie Shah with us, and she is an academic consultant, defense and security, and she was an ex-UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador to Commonwealth countries, and also a researcher analyst. Also worked as a researcher analyst in University of Surrey. So we do have with us Sister Annie. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Annie. Can you hear me? I would like to welcome you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. If you could share some your viewpoint on the current state situation of a war between Iran and Israel, along with the situation within Israel itself, and how it's going to fall apart, or how do you see this whole situation and the war crimes being committed by Israel in this whole situation, because they were the one who initiated this whole thing. So how do you see the situation where it is going?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for introducing me, and it's a pleasure to be here. The situation that we can see for now today, we have to look back at what Israel has been doing for the last 2 years now. Also, we have to understand the whole situation regarding the war that is happening in the region right now, the crisis, obviously between Iran and Israel. Now, just to get to the basic facts, we need to understand through a non-nuclear perspective. Now, Iran is a signatory to the nuclear non-proliferation regime and has been for a very long time, which is obviously a part of the international, agency which comes under the international conventions within the United Nations. And being a party to the treaty as nuclear non-proliferation treaty gives them the right to have access to civilian nuclear energy, right? Before, obviously, when the last time Trump came into power, what he did was he literally cancelled all the nuclear deal that Iran had, undergone, which led Iran to obviously be outside of that Iran nuclear deal, which took years and years to come out. So the problem really, the dilemma really is that we have all these nuclear weapon states. We have the big Western nations like Britain, we have United States of America, we have France, and also we have Israel, which obviously does not mention, or let's say, quote unquote clandestine nuclear weapons, nuclear stock, but obviously has nuclear weapons, but is not a party to any international treaty. So the problem then really is the double standard. When you have a certain country who is not a party to any international treaty, has nuclear weapons, how can they, with the audacity of them, to actually question the nuclear capability of a country that is already a party to the international treaty, right? So that's where the double standards rise in. I mean, many a times, this has been talked about in United Nations resolutions have been passed against Israel regarding their own nuclear weapons. Now, this is where the whole system really is. You feel like that there are so many loopholes for these countries who themselves claim to be the harbinger of the international morality, or being the police of the international morality, but at the same time are not abiding by any international laws or treaties. And then the worst bit is that you have all these other big nations, Western nations like US and Britain, who are basically accomplices to whatever Israel is doing. It's like they have given them the complete reins. You yourself claim to be the humanitarian, police, and at the same time, you are letting a rogue, I would definitely say it's a rogue state, because that's exactly what they're doing. The apartheid, the genocide, and also the audacity for them to go and destroy and send missiles into destroy the sovereignty of a country. How could they just have those? How could they even think about it? So this is something that is, I think, that needs to be raised, because the normal people, the common people in the Western countries and maybe even elsewhere are not aware of the fact that there are double standards within the international community, within the international organization. When you have countries like Israel, who have nuclear weapons, blatantly not a party to any treaty, international treaty, violate the sovereignty of a country that is party to the international treaty. So this needs to be told. People do not understand. All they have been hearing for so many years, decades and decades on, is the propaganda that Israel and the rest of these countries have been created. And Israel is actually mostly responsible Iraq to destabilize. They are the ones. They are actually doing the same thing. This is what I feel, that this whole Western bloc is doing the same thing they did when they wanted to invade Iraq. They take the guise of the weapons of mass destruction, go in, and this is exactly, it's like history repeating itself. So this is not the first time we've seen anything like that, where a sovereignty of a nation state is violated, and the sovereignty of a nation state which has been, subjected to so many economic sanctions, so many to the point where even it becomes a massive issue, right? Even within the country itself, and being forced then to actually retaliate. I mean, Iran has all the right to defend itself. If Israel has the right to defend itself, why doesn't Iran have the right to defend itself? So it has to be clear. And there obviously are going to be consequences for, and definitely US, their complicity is definitely in. I mean, what we need to do is really highlight that all the other countries, especially Pakistan, China, they need to come in and basically give more support to Iran, which they have. But it just needs to show the mass people, the normal people, they have no clue what exactly is going on. See, all they hear, this is a warmongering society. It's like, you're scribbling through pages and seeing what is happening now, what is going on. In fact, they have no idea what exactly has been going on. So Middle East becoming a cauldron of chronic instability is because of Israel's creation since 1948. And Israel itself needs to be disarmed of all the weapons of mass destruction that it has. And it should be the one who should be party to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. It's not it is a regional issue, but at the same time, it's an international issue. Obviously, it has always been said that this regional issue will have ripple effects within the international community. It will just pass on. It will be another World War III. But this is not merely an attack on one country. It's an attack on the whole of the region. It is, I mean, even in the international order, as we said, like, Iran has always been compliant to the International Atomic Energy Agency. How is it that all of a sudden, obviously, when it's taken years and years to bring Iran on the table with the Iran nuclear deal, Trump comes in and obviously, deletes whatever had been done, erases everything that has been done for so many years. And now, as like I said, it's just sort of history repeating itself. So the aggression that has been shown by Israel, it was intentional. Let me be very clear on that. It was intentional, it was coordinated, and it was fully backed by the member states of the United Nations Security Council, which is the main one, which is being the United States of America. And let me be also clear, it's an unprovoked, the world is watching. It's on the 4K, it's actually being shown on your television screens. We all know who is the first aggressor, right? So like I said, Israel needs to now literally understand that this is not going to be their dining room. This whole situation is not going to be brought into the dining room. This is something that they have violated, and people need to be told what exactly this violation is all about, what is the history behind it, and what exactly Israel stands for. And countries who have significant influence over Israel, they should play not a role of basically, supporting Israel, but they should play a constructive role rather than saying to Israel, yes, okay, go on, do what you have to. I don't really understand, where is the international community now? Where is the humanitarian community now? So why don't they just step in? The people are watching. People are not stupid. One day or the other, there is going to be a massive, like how people have grown to understand the Gaza situation. in the Western world. I'm sure there will be plenty more humanitarians who will actually come forward and understand exactly the history behind all of this, of this aggression. And with genocide, which is unfolding before our eyes, this definitely shows that Israel has got too many hands everywhere. They're actually putting themselves in the most dangerous situation themselves. So I think international community really needs to come forward, talk about exactly what's going on, and need we need a sort of a permanent solution to this. I mean, this is something that has not only angered most of the countries who are pretty much supportive of Iran, but at the same time, people are actually opening their eyes and understanding what exactly this is.
True. Thank you, Sister Annie. You have shared very logical analysis as our other guest has shared. Sister Sakina, what are your thoughts? What Sister Annie has mentioned regarding, uh, uh, especially whenever we talk about these situations, especially like we all have always been discussing Gaza situation, it comes to the world leadership and humanitarian institutions whatsoever, or United Nations or whatsoever. Even when we see them, they are signatory of security councils, for example. They are major member of that, and they wish, when it comes to ceasefire, America veto it. When it we talk about Gaza ceasefire, they just veto it, for instance. So, and now the situation is that UK, USA, France, many other countries, these signatory countries, I guess, or the major members, they are like shifting their weapons or whatsoever, weapons or war related logistics, shifting to West Asia. So, how do you see, when they claim to be the peacemaker, but they do it otherwise? This hypocrisy obviously is being unfolded earlier. In past 2 years, we have been seeing this. So, how long they would keep repeating the same script every time it happens in Libya, in Iraq, in every many countries, you name it, they will have some kind of relationship with that. So, how do you see the situation going when it comes to shift? Are we in the like third world war situation? Obviously, it is, but what are your view on that? When they shift the whole thing in West Asia, shifted from Ukraine to West Asia, and now they say like we want peace and all that. So, do you think they will involve very soon, and we are going to see something bigger happening very soon with the involvement of these countries?
So, first of all, let me say that, Israel is a project of the West. We here in Britain, it was our nation that, created Israel and put it in there. So, also, if you look at the international law, the whole system of international law, this has been set up by these Western countries. The Western countries whose basic principle is imperialism and colonialism. So for us to expect anything else from them is, I think, we should not even be surprised. Why we shouldn't even be thinking as to, why are they employing double standards? Why are they doing this? This is the nature of how things are meant to be. They are an imperialist, colonial system, and the whole concept of them being in West Asia or anywhere else in the world, whether you talk of Africa or in wherever, is to really exploit these nations, because they believe in the hegemony. They believe that power should be concentrated in the Western world, and this is how they rule over everyone. Now, why does the script, doesn't change? The script doesn't change because it works. It works for them. We see that in the most of the Muslim world, with the genocide being a main example. Where are the Muslim countries? Where are the West Asian countries? Where are the Arabs? Everybody is quiet. And so the Western script is working, is successful. Why would they change it? They are benefiting from that script. So I think, all the institutions. We're talking about why is Israel working with impunity, why is nobody being held to accountable. All these international law systems were put in place by these very nations after the World War II. They put this together, and it was never meant to be implemented for themselves. This was for others, for everybody else, Africa, Asia. They are the ones to be held accountable, not their own people. And that is the reason why today, none of it is working. So what are the alternatives? So I think in my view, if we talk about um, the way forward and future, so before I come to what I think will happen on the ongoing situation right now, let me just say that I think there are two aspects that can change things in the long run and not immediately. This is, first of all, the Muslim and the Arab world, or rather the entire third world nation, non-Western countries, need to learn from what has happened now. They need to come together. There is a need of unity on all fronts: unity within Muslims, unity within Arabs, between people who believe in justice and a better system in the world. And this is possible if, for example, if we went into a further war, if Russia, if China, if Pakistan really stand by Iran and try to create an alternative system, this can challenge the hegemony. And therefore, if they are two equal partners, then there is a bit more of accountability on an international level. But the second part is our responsibility being part of this British system here. We cannot expect the system itself not to have double standards. But that is also because we as Muslims have stepped back. We have allowed the Israeli lobby or the Zionist lobby, for example, to take over politics in this country. I mean, what do we as Muslims do? We ourselves are one of the first people who are there to criticize a nation like Iran. The maximum criticism I hear are not from non-Muslims and even non-Shias, which is sad to say. Our own communities are first to speak ill against the government. The government is this, this is. So if we ourselves, have stepped back, are a part of the problem, how do we expect to have any role in changing the foreign policy of this country? The Muslim vote is an example. During elections, we talked so much about the fact that there is a need to unite a Muslim vote. And what happened? A lot of Muslims were saying, no, we are traditionally Labour voters and we are going to vote Labour. And now Labour is in power and we can see what they are doing. They are complicit in the genocide. So we have a responsibility. We can change things, but we have to do it in the right manner. We have to first unite amongst ourselves. We have to have a strategic thinking. A lot of us and a lot of our mosque and our leadership is also complicit because they are part of this system. They work in businesses. Our mosques are refusing to simply talk about the genocide. I mean, this, you can't beat this. Whereas even in parliament today in Britain, people are talking about it openly. You still find that mosques on Fridays either will not speak about it, or they will give the khutbah and not air it, not broadcast it, because they are too scared of saying anything. So we cannot influence a change until we become one again. The growing number of Muslims in Britain, again, I don't want to go into the aspect of creating the far right thinking here about us taking over or anything, but we do have the power, if we come together, to influence some of the thoughts. So this is possible. Now on the issue of where this war is going to go, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. And we hope to God that it will not escalate, because we are looking at a possible third world countries, a third world war. And the war is not good for anybody. None of us wants violence. A lot of people will die in it. A lot of destruction will happen. Having said that, the telling Iran to de-escalate is also not the answer. I mean, pressure has to be put on Israel. They are the ones who started this war, and de-escalation has to happen from their side first. Whether Iran should come to the table, yes, Iran should negotiate, but not now. They first have to finish this business. They are actively being attacked as we speak. How can they go to negotiating table when they are being attacked? How can they join again, any discussions when they are being backstabbed in every manner? So at the moment, Iran is not the first one to take the step to de-escalate. However, when this calms down, and I hope that it will, when the bombings on two sides stop, I think Iran should go to negotiations, but not go to negotiations with the expectations that they are going to win anything or that the West has any of their interest. They also have to be strategic in the same manner that, the Westerners and the Zionists are playing political games. The Iran has to be on the same level. So I think, this is my assessment, that we really do not want a third world war, and we hope for the safety of everybody around the world that, we will be able to reach some kind of a peace deal.
Thank you. Aga, we have just left with 20 minutes, so I will give you 8 minutes so that I can give remaining 4 minutes each to both sisters. So, how would you like to conclude? Most importantly, do you think that America can spin off an other conflict between China and Taiwan, in the sense that uh, if we look at the stakeholder of this whole situation, who is going to benefit from that? So, how do you see that? And where do you see the situation going? Do you think it's going to escalate further in many ways, or how would you like to conclude your whole discussion? And most
Okay.
importantly,
Well,
as sister mentioned
yeah.
about the community and the role of our a leader within the communities, what they should be doing right now.
Okay. About America spinning off something or doing anything, we cannot expect anything normal to happen from US where they would be do something in an unbiased manner. But if you look at the way Trump came into power, Trump's message to the Americans was the mega, make America great again, whereby we will not get into wars, we will not support any wars, we will not be part of any conflicts in the world. We will think about America first. Okay. Now, this is coming out to be not true, specifically if US enters into this war. Now, today's news is that they have tried to move some aerial tankers into the region, whereby which means they are expecting that the conflict could escalate, or maybe it's just to build additional pressure on Iran that we might get inside the war anytime. So for Trump, it's a dilemma there present that if he gets into a direct war, the losses which US is going to suffer will reflect back in United States by his own people that why are you getting into it when you came into power with this kind of message? And already Trump has a lot of issues going on inside US. The immigrants who are out on the streets, that's an issue going on which he has. He has got the tax rates issues going on with China, and if Iran plays something, I would say, very sharp over here, that is closing down Strait of Hormuz, which they are warning that they will do, that can change the situation drastically globally. Globally, like if Strait of Hormuz is closed, is shut down, blocked by Iran, the oil prices are expected to reach around 110 to 120 per barrel, which means the fuel prices for a consumer would almost become double over here. From $3 in US, it would go to $6 a liter over there. So this would bring a big impact on the common masses, not just in Israel and Iran and in the region, but across the world. And Iran is trying to expose this card very often now that we can do this. We can close down Strait of Hormuz. And if Strait of Hormuz is closed, then US can either pressurize Netanyahu to back off and do something, or they might step into the war to finish this off. On both the sides, there is this ideology present, there is this thinking present that let's finish it off. Iran wants to finish it off for Israel. Israel and US also wants to finish off at least the Iranian nuclear enrichment sites and bring down the regimes. So if both parties go on this stand, let's finish it off, then it is not going to end. It will be prolonged. The war veterans and the war specialists, their analysis, if you see, which I have been just going through them, it looks like, and which I also believe personally, that either it will stop abruptly very soon, everything will stop, or it will go on for a long period. And that period could be at least 3 months to 20 months, 3 years. It can even go that long. It might not be in the same scale where every day barrages are being fired. It would be on and off attacks going on, and the war will go on for a long period. Now, there are certain international players whose role is very critical in this. I wouldn't count on Arabs and Turks and all. They are all hypocrites and they are not going to make any difference. They're going to spoil the situation if they step inside. Players like China, Putin, they can play a significant role in this war. Maybe China also has got a thinking over here that China has been troubled by US a lot. China is an economic state. Their war is economical warfare, but they have become very powerful in the military domain, which we have seen in the recent war between Pakistan and India, that what their equipments have done, their anti-missile systems and have done over there. So China might also step in, not directly in the beginning, but at the back of Iran if US steps in from there. China will not stay silent if US directly comes in the war. And this is what Trump is afraid of. That Trump, if he steps inside directly and makes any attack on Iran, China will go out and support Iran with the logistics. Iran doesn't need some manpower from China. They just need logistic support. And they will get the logistic support, and this could turn out into a big conflict in the region. On the other hand, the Arabs have paid $2 trillion to Trump for this reason only to avoid a regional conflict. They don't want a regional conflict because they are small nations, and for them to get destroyed doesn't take much time. They are not like Israel, who have got big systems and IDF and spying systems and all these whereby they can sustain. They cannot sustain the war. If US uses these Arab nations, their bases, Iran will attack them, will attack the Arab nations. The mood which is present in Iran right now with IRGC and with the Iranian leadership is that they are not going to compromise if any aggression takes place by anyone else apart from Israel now. They are not going to compromise. They are not going to go soft, which they have done in the past and they have seen the consequences. They will not play it politically much. They will go more in the revolutionary mode, in the style which Imam Khomeini Rahmatullah had. The same style they will proceed now. If and they have said very clearly, if US attacks, we will attack. If any other nation in between intercepts, does anything, we will attack them as well. So this aggressiveness, if it prevails for a long time, the war will continue for a long time. If some diplomacy takes place in between, whereby there are people sitting inside Iran who want a diplomatic solution, then there is a possibility. Also, as the sister also mentioned, nothing can be precisely predicted at this stage. But my personal view is that if it has to stop, it has to stop in few days. If it doesn't stop in few days, then it will prolong. It will go on for a long time. On and off conflicts will be there, and significant damages will start to take place on both the ends. And the third thing which I said is that if Israeli Jews come under pressure, they will take some step against Netanyahu. They don't have that much resilience which Iranians have. They are much low, almost zero level as compared to the Iranian resilience which have. Iranian nation can sustain this war for a long time. They are trained. They have borders to get support on the other hand, on the eastern side, but they will get logistic support in terms of food, aid, medical supplies, all these things will come to them. And that is there for them to sustain. But Israeli nation psychologically is very weak. They will not be able to sustain this, and which will be in favor of Iran if it continues for a certain time. And they will give up at some stage. Israeli nation will have to give up this, and they will come on the table to negotiate and close this. That's what my points are. The next point you mentioned about what would be the role of the Muslim community. The role of the Muslim community has been dead and silence, which we have seen throughout. But at least those people who have the spark of Islam inside their heart, who have the pain for the Muslim Ummah, like now within this conflict, one thing we are missing out. Last 2 days continuously, Israel is killing around 60, 70 Palestinians over there. And the news media is not really highlighting that also much because everyone is focused on this conflict. So they are not stopping over there. They are going by their mission of completely cleansing over there in Palestine. So the Muslim nation's responsibility now is to come out, at least raise the voice against this tyranny, number one. Number two, all those people who are connected to these tyrants in the Muslim countries, in the Muslim nations, they should be practically boycotted. Not boycotted by people not consuming their products, but boycotting them from the Muslim land itself. That they should not be present over there, such companies, such organizations, whether they are NGOs, whether they are embassies, they should all be completely banned and stopped in the Muslim countries. But I don't think so. There is any Muslim country who might do it. The only hope is with Pakistan, who might do something, the Pakistani people. But other nations, we can't expect these things to happen. Looking at what has happened over the last 2 years in Palestine, uh, at an individual level, at a small micro level where we stand, yes, we have to raise a voice. We have to present the truth to the world and specific to the Western world. That is very important. Not to the Muslim world. Muslim world has become dead. Their hearts are dead. Summun bukmun umyun they are. They are dead. But we need to awaken the Western world, show them the truth, what is happening in the world, and what their own nations and the governments are doing with this tyranny, how they are involved in killing these children over there in Palestine, how they are involved behind the civil casualties, whether it is in Israel, whether it is in Iran. These are these powers sitting behind who are responsible for this. And this awakening in the Western world can make a big difference if we start to awaken them, these people over here. I
Thank you.
think the time is up.
Sister Annie, are you online and can hear us as well?
Yes, absolutely.
So,
I'm just going to quickly
that's fine. I
go.
just wanted to add one question with your conclusion, if you
Yes.
can add. How do you see if this situation is ongoing and war is continuously, escalating or whatsoever? Do you see that, Israel might attack Pakistan as well one day, because the second enemy is Pakistan for them? So, how would you like to conclude? We have like 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, something.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's a very interesting question, and I think most of us have seen probably a video that has been circulating throughout, where Netanyahu has literally talked about how two of the major countries that he would want to dismember, in terms of the threat that they pose. So, I mean, we all know really that these 3-4 consecutive days, the strikes that have been taking place in Iran, killing over more than 240 individuals, including those military leaders. Now, one can say that Iran actually has retaliated with unprecedented missile attacks on the major cities of Israel, Tel Aviv, and Haifa, which is absolutely, interesting to see. Obviously, we don't know the accurate assessments of those casualties or damage, but what we can see through is that they have actually been able to infiltrate the Israel's Iron Dome. But the main thing really that we have to understand, and my sister there and our brother there also mentioned about how really the Muslim Ummah has really fallen asleep. I feel like that they have literally sold their soul to the devil. There is no consciousness. Where is that consciousness? And the reason that I actually mentioned about, that people really need to understand the historical context. I think I sometimes feel that we're not doing enough. And I absolutely agree with Sakina that we're not doing enough. And the only way we can actually do is really tell everybody. I mean, as an academic, that's what I do. I try to tell people about the historical aspect. Because whatever they're seeing in the Western media, there's only one jargon that has been put forward in the Western media, that Iran is an axis of evil, and blah, blah, blah. And that is where it's very important for the people to understand that what they see in the media and what the West shows you is a complete farce. It's basically something that is, they're telling you complete lies. So that's where I come in, where my academic side comes in, and I try to tell people about the historical context, what's been going on, why this organization came into being. Even if they did, it was just one, the colonial mindset, and it's still carrying on. So when we talk about World War III, in actual fact, we're going through World War III. There might be skirmishes around the world. neutrality. But then again, he threatens retaliation if Iranian, they attack the targets American interests, around in the Middle East. One thing that I personally feel is that Iran may be able to close the strategic oil checkpoints, like the Hormuz. There could be a Strait of Hormuz threat, which could actually be the last leverage that would serve them. And then again, the negotiation prospects, where I see Iran is signaling willingness to hold everything only if Israel and US, with Trump, it's very unpredictable. At one point, he says we have got nothing to do with it, and on the other hand, he always goes on saying it's threatening Iran. So this is also quite very unpredictable. We need to also, it's when, as an academic, I always look at the long-term risks and I look at the considerations. If it's a prolonged conflict, it will obviously have destabilizing factors. It will destabilize the allies of Israel as well. At the same time, the Israeli attacks might actually accelerate it even more. And then I always feel that countries like Pakistan, Turkey, who are kind of like have original stability in terms of their might, in the region, not because of the economic growth, but because of the balance of power when it comes to their military and because of their nuclear weapons. I think they need to be side by side, and they need to literally explicitly tell that if anything, and there have been actually reports which have been circulating, but they really need to mean it. At the end, I would only suggest, because we're running out of time, is what I feel is that yes, once this is obviously stops, there could be an agreement, but then again, the agreement only depends on the predictability of how the U.S. government is going to come out as, because if the conflict does go on, that it would make the situation even more volatile, not just at home in Iran, but as well as the consequences on the global economic fronts, and as well as security implications. So it really is, at the minute, it seems like it's something that the negotiation tables need to be open. At the same time, just looking at where exactly US is pointing towards, because it's so unpredictable in terms of US.
True. Sister Sakina, we are running out of time, so just 2 minutes left, like 2.5 minutes. If you can share your conclusion on that.
I'm just going to really conclude by saying that I agree with the brother and the sister, but specifically with Said Arif, that we should not be looking for solutions from the Muslim world. There are no solutions there. They are not good. They are actually, their hearts are sealed, and therefore there is no going to be any kind of a solution from there. Apart from the countries like China and Russia may be possibly making some differences, we should concentrate on our role and our responsibility. And I actually genuinely believe that when it comes to the coming of Imam Mahdi, which is where this is all leading to, I very much believe that the army of the Imam will rise from the West, because I think despite all the problems we have in the West, the awakening of the common people, and I'm talking of non-Muslims here, whose hearts are really towards justice, and we've seen this in the demonstrations that have been happening. They are now on Palestinian marches, they are more non-Muslims than Muslims, and I think their hearts are so open, but they need the message, and they do not have the message that we are holding. Year in, year out, we are coming close to yet another Muharram and another commemoration of Karbala. We are holding these messages within ourselves, and we are not imparting these messages and trying to make connections with the present world. And I know that when Muharram comes, we will be burning, because our lecturers will be talking about Imam Hussain and Karbala without at all connecting or really making connections of how the fact that Karbala is alive today. So this is our role. It's not to give up. It's to ensure that those of us who understand these things will keep fighting. Now, the main thing we need at the moment is, let's not get too embroiled in the minute details that I see the Shia community in particular at the moment in the UK is doing. How many targets did Tehran really manage to hit Israel hard enough? These are not the issues we should be discussing at the moment. We should all collectively be behind Iran. Iran has got its problems. I'm not saying it is without issues. There are many serious issues, but the situation we are in, we are not supporting Iran only because we are Shia or because we are Muslim, but in this conflict it is because Iran is on the right side legally. Ideologically, they are the ones who have been attacked, and they are, what they're doing is self-defense, and according to international law. Let's rally behind them without this continuous, but this and but that. So I think this is very important. Also, we should be advocating unity amongst Muslims here, but also unity, like I said, amongst the common people in the West who are peace loving, because really, I think genuinely, if there is going to
Thank
be any massive change, it is going to come from this part of the world.
Thank you, Sister Sakina Datu. Thank you so much, Aga Sayyid Arifrizvi. I'm really grateful for your time. And Sister Dr. Sayyida Ani Shah, really grateful for your time and participation. To the viewers, I would say it's the time to decide where is Haq standing and where is Batil. So it's our duty to stand up towards the truth and end this tyranny with working towards the truth. Look after yourself and everyone around you. I'll take a leave. Allah Hafiz.